Last Saturday, an epidemic of Falcon fever swept into Irving, Texas. It was highly contagious and could be virulent. All season long, the Atlanta football team had the symptoms, a coma-like torpor which would see them fall behind in a game. Then this would be followed by a miraculous recovery, which would see them rally to win in the final seconds. 6 times in their 10 victories, Coach Lehman Bennett had seen his team come barreling down the stretch to overtake an opponent at the gun. This included a narrow 14-13 come-from-behind victory in the first round of the wild card playoffs over the Philadelphia Eagles. Today, the Falcons will need all the miracles they can muster, because in the Dallas Cowboys, they are meeting a team that has already been put on a plane to Miami and Super Bowl 13 by virtually everyone who knows football. One big advantage the Cowboys have is that they are playing at home, where they are loved more than anything, with perhaps one exception. Both teams have tenacious and tough defenses, with the Cowboys finishing second and the Falcons fourth in the NFC. But on offense, the imbalance is glaring. The Cowboys were first in the conference, the Falcons a weak 12th. So it seems that in this 1978 NFC Divisional playoff, the cards are heavily stacked in the Dallas Cowboys' favor. But one can never tell when the other team is carrying a pocket full of miracles, as the Atlanta Falcons meet the Dallas Cowboys in the NFL Game of the Week. The Cowboys wasted no time in weaving a web of offensive magic. Roger Staubach's pass to Drew Pearson was good for 39 yards and was the big gainer in an 11-play drive that culminated in a 34-yard field goal by Rafael Septien. When the Falcons got the ball, they took immediately to the air, where Steve Bartkowski to wide receiver Billy Reichman was good for 22 yards. Reichman's blast by Dallas safety Cliff Harris, number 43, left both players eyeing each other warily, and it seemed to set the tone for the rest of the game. In the early going, Bartkowski was enjoying excellent protection from his line, and although this pass to Dennis Pearson was well defensed, it still accounted for a 15-yard pickup thanks to the unsportsmanlike conduct of the pugnacious Harris, whose gloved hand you will see reaching in here in an attempt to intimidate. It's one thing to be naughty, but it's downright dumb to be naughty right in front of the law. The penalty kept the Atlanta drive going, and from the 14, running back Bubba Bean galloped in to put the Falcons on top 7-3. A repeat shows that Bean had plenty of room to maneuver thanks to some crisp blocking by the Atlanta line. While the Falcon offense had left its calling card, the defense was about to make a big impression on Roger Staubach. It was a portent of things to come and the type of play that forced the Cowboys to punt with a 4th and 10 at their own 42. Danny White's fake punt was good for 12 yards and the first down. From there, fullback Scott Laidlaw, number 35, barged his way forward for 21 yards. A repeat shows that while Laidlaw's forte may not be speed, his balance and extra effort more than make up for it. Staubach was using all the Dallas offensive variables as he continued to drive on the Atlanta goal. A swing pass to Tony Dorsett coming out of the backfield was good for a pickup of 9. With a 1st and 10 at the Atlanta 13, Roger decided to go for the works. What he got was a mini juggling exhibition by wide receiver Tony Hill. A repeat shows that Hill was definitely outside the field when he got possession, but without the bobble, it might have been a score. It didn't matter, though, because on the next play, Scott Laidlaw laid a straight course for the end zone, and the Cowboys led 10-7. On a repeat, watch the Dallas guard on the right of the screen pull out, go to his left, and neutralize number 54, Atlanta linebacker Fulton Kuykendall. The key block was thrown by Herbert Scott, a 260-pounder from Virginia Union. From another angle, we can see that the hole was big enough to leave Laidlaw unscathed until he met some token resistance at the goal line. Laidlaw, a fourth-year man from Stanford, was substituting in the game for the injured Robert Newhouse, and it seemed that little, if any, effectiveness was lost. Now, late in the first quarter, was time for Steve Bartkowski to meet the ever-lurking, ready-to-pounce Doomsday. Linebacker Thomas Henderson got him on a blitz for a loss of 8. 2 plays later, it was Too Tall Jones and a loss of 11. Watch number 72 at the bottom of the screen, and you'll know what it's like to get caught in a Buffalo stampede. With a 4th and 25, there's only one way to go, and John James's punt was long and hard to handle. Butch Johnson's fumble was covered by Tom Moriarty, and Atlanta was still on the move. It was an inspirational moment for the Falcons, and it set up a 42-yard field goal try by Tim Mazzetti. Mazzetti's field goal tied the game at 10, but on their next possession, Dallas scored on a 48-yard Septien field goal to regain the lead 13-10. Then Atlanta stormed right back, and Bartkowski hit Wallace Francis for 17 yards and a score. A repeat shows a perfectly thrown needle threader pass, good for a 17-13 Falcon lead. It also made all those who doubted the Falcons' ability to stay with the Cowboys do a little reassessment of their thinking. On the next series, Dallas had the ball for only one play, which was a Tony Dorsett fumble, recovered by Atlanta's Tom Pridemore, number 27, on the Dallas 30. The Falcons were in business again. But once again, it was the Dallas defense, led by the gritty Cliff Harris, that saved the day by bringing the Falcon drive to a quick halt. With runs and passes both ineffective, Atlanta settled for another Mazzetti field goal and a burgeoning 20-13 lead. And then, for a moment, the Doomsday Missile wore red and was homed in on Roger Staubach. The hit and roughness penalty were both by linebacker Robert Pennywell. And had he given Staubach a penny for his thoughts, he would have been gypped, because Roger wasn't having any. Staubach's stillness was frightening, and worries about the NFC Championship and the Super Bowl took a back seat to worries about the man himself. After what seemed an eternity, Danny White moved onto the field to take Roger's place at the Dallas helm. It was an unenviable task. The biggest relief of the day came when Roger was able to walk with assistance to the sideline. The injury was diagnosed as a concussion, and for number 12, the game was over. For Dallas, it was not a good way to end the half. Down 20-13, the leader gone. The substitute quarterback cold and perhaps a little shaken himself. There was adversity rampant here, and it would take a team of iron character to overcome it. The Cowboys emerged from the locker room with one less player available for the second half. And for the remainder of the game, number 11 Danny White would run the Cowboy offense. The Cowboy defense would do everything they could to make sure White did not have to make up any more than the 7 points that Dallas already trailed by. The Dallas D did all that could be expected. With the exception of one drive late in the game, the Cowboys permitted the Falcons a futile 28 yards in the second half. But then Atlanta really didn't need any points. They led 20-13, and if the tough Falcon defense could stop a Staubach-less Cowboy offense, Atlanta didn't need to gain another inch. Roland Lawrence intercepted White's first pass of the second half, and the Cowboys looked like they might have been in trouble. But another angle reveals that White's poor throw was caused by harsh pressure from Edgar Fields. Fields' near sack caused White's pass to Drew Pearson to be underthrown, and Lawrence intercepted. Lawrence and his defensive backmates are all excellent man-to-man defenders, and they have to be. Atlanta blitzes so often that they are frequently forced to go one-on-one. And they do it very well, covering the game's finest receivers with no help from linebackers, despite the fact that no one of Atlanta's defensive backs is over 5 feet 11 inches tall. Lawrence, number 22, is the best of Falcon protectors of the deep. And though the Cowboys kept trying to bomb the singled-up secondary, they could not explode or exploit Atlanta's defensive backs. Instead, White found success by rolling out to avoid Atlanta's blitzing linebackers and throwing short into their coverage areas. With these shorter passes, Dallas was taking advantage of Atlanta's blitz. On this play, right linebacker Greg Brazina, number 50, has blitzed, and White's pass goes directly at his vacated area. Laidlaw carried to the Atlanta 2, and from there, White again rolled out and kept right on rolling until tight end Jackie Smith got open. In the middle of the third period, White had led Dallas to a tie at 20. And on the Cowboys' next series, Staubach's stand-in had them rolling again. On this possession, White mixed in some Dorsett driving before again testing Atlanta's secondary with a 6-point shot. This one could have worked for Tony Hill was open, but White passed poorly, so Hill settled for a field goal. A 22-yard completion to Hill brought Dallas across midfield, where number 54, Fulton Kuykendall, blitzed, and White, as a last resort, dumped a safety valve to Dorsett. Dorsett carried to the Falcon 15, but upfield it was ruled that Kuykendall's blitz had succeeded. The pass came after White's knee touched down, and Dallas's drive was done. The Cowboys now began to take advantage of their ever-improving field position. White almost gave Atlanta the poorest of possible starting points, but though he had just the right backspin, he kicked the ball 6 inches too far, and an official was right on the spot to call the kick a touchback. Atlanta did not have to start from the 1. Starting from the 20 and after a 14-yard run, they felt more comfortable passing, but probably wished they had been forced to run. Aaron Kyle was a classic example of being in the right place at the right time, as he collected a pinball interception and returned it to the Atlanta 40. A look at the play from up top reveals that Bartkowski's pass to Alfred Jackson was overthrown. Cliff Harris kept the ball alive, and Kyle had an interception. Early in the fourth quarter, Dallas failed to capitalize on the turnover. But when Atlanta punter John James got off just a 10-yard punt from his own 20, Dallas was just 30 yards from the go-ahead score. Using Dorsett and Laidlaw exclusively, White moved the Cowboys toward the lead. A 1-yard dive by Laidlaw gave Dallas the lead 27-20 and gave the unheralded running back his second touchdown of the day. The Cowboys led by 7, but with 10 minutes to go in the game, there was certainly enough time for the late game lightning Atlanta Falcons to score at least once. Perhaps because there was so much time left, Atlanta went nowhere on their next possession. But later it was time to search the skies for another miracle. After a penalty, this one would begin from 95 yards away. The magic was still there as Charlie Waters' interception came on a play when Dallas was called for a penalty. Still alive, the Falcons continued to move toward what they were sure was going to be the tying touchdown. A 20-yard completion to Francis and 29 yards on 4 running plays brought Atlanta to a 3rd and 10 on the Dallas 41. A great pass from Bartkowski to Francis gained 99% of the needed 10 yards. And what would be Atlanta's best chance came down to a 4th and inches at the Dallas 31. Another Atlanta courageous comeback would come down to a measurement to see if the Falcons would fly again. The Cowboys made sure the officials got all the help they needed in marking the spot. And when the chains came in, Atlanta had come up short. The Cowboys had stifled this Falcon chance, but Dallas could not run out the clock. And Atlanta got one more chance with 48 seconds left. But world champions do not allow late comebacks, no matter how good the story. And as number 43, Cliff Harris, dropped deep into the miracle zone, Dallas put Atlanta down for the final time. There would be no Garrison finish this time, but the game did have its Cinderella stories. Danny White, forced into emergency service when Roger Staubach was injured, had led the Cowboys to 2 second-half touchdowns and the victory. The second-string quarterback finally got the girl. But White was not the only story. Inspired by the loss of their leader, the Dallas defense completely shut down the opposition. Chances are if the teams were still playing today, Atlanta would still have those same 20 points that were not enough, as Dallas came back to win 27-20 and end Atlanta's wild and crazy season. For Dallas, it's Los Angeles this week in the final step towards Super Bowl 13 and a chance to defend their title.